Hey YouTube. Well, haven't made a video for a little bit, and this is the status. Pretty much the frame looks like the way it did the last time, although I've been working on some new parts, which this part here that I'm making is going to replace the old spring hanger. I actually think that looks much nicer than that. But anyway, as you'll notice, the cab is off the truck, so now I can do a lot more measuring and making sure that things are going to work out well. And I've seen the magnitude of what I need to replace. You can see how badly the cab mounts wore out. Probably has a good reason for why my freaking door wouldn't shut. You can see how badly the frame is chewed up there. I mean, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's actually cracked right through there. I had bolted metal plates onto the inside of the frame about a year ago. The transmission mount was, you can see there, I mean, totally gone. I had welded plates onto that about a year ago. Look at that mount there. Unbelievable. So, you know, when I was a kid and you do a cab or a cab off restoration, you had about 3 wires on the alternator, 3 wires on the starter, and a wire that went to the distributor. There must have been 50 freaking wires coming from the cab to the engine of this truck. It took us almost all day, my son and myself, to get this thing completely apart. It only took about 5 minutes to take the cab off once we knew all the wires were off. We missed one, which was a little ground wire over here, which we tore off when we lifted the cab up, but I consider that a victory when you compare, you know, to everything that had to be done. So somewhere right in this area here, and where the frame actually has it's a doubling effect. I'm not exactly sure how it's put together because I want to clean it. Again, here you can see how the frame is just cracked right in half there. Anyway, I want to cut the frame here where this box is, this double box, and that's where I'm going to weld the new one. I believe that it'll be good there. This is just some actually mud on here, so I can clean that and should be alright. But I'm going to make new ones of these hangers, and should be good then. And since I'm already have the truck at this stage, I may as well just go ahead and rebuild or replace whatever's not good on the truck. I've been looking for some control arms and I found them, so I'm going to change the control arms because they're a little rusty and get that taken care of. And anything else that the motor might need. I might rebuild the engine since it's so easy to get at the moment. It would be crazy not to. So anyway, I still have a lot of work to do on the frame, and when you're custom making everything like I am, it does take a while, but there's a great deal of satisfaction in doing this and knowing especially that, you know, you can do something better than what the factory did. I want to show you how I made that. If you remember, I had made a template of that. Well, I'm going to just show you real quick how I ended up making this piece. I have a press here, and my garage is pretty booked or loaded up with junk because of the car parts. Excuse the camera. What I did was I took the sheet metal, I marked it where I wanted to actually work on it, and then I took a piece of pipe and I forced the pipe, a piece of heavy wall pipe. It's very heavy, about 3/8 of an inch thick. I put the pipe in there, and I used the press to press the shape that I needed for the spring hanger. Okay, so once I got that shape, then I took that piece of metal and I marked off where I wanted to cut out for the spring hanger. Okay? And this should be looking at it sort of like from this view. So this is 3 inches wide, which that is exactly. So I cut that out, and then I took the piece that I cut out and I actually inverted it and put it on the top of this and welded that in place, which is actually this piece. Okay, so I cut out the bottom over here and put it on the top, and I actually had to cut a little piece out of it and add a piece to get everything just so. But now that I've done one, the next one will be easy. And then as far as the actual plates that the string's going to hang on to, all I did was take a hole saw, which I have in the drill here, in the bench drill, and I just cut out 2 holes out of that same 1/4 inch material. So it's amazingly tough stuff. The only thing I have to do yet is bend the flange. This flange on here, you know, it comes across and back. And I want to bend that flange, and you can see where I have it marked. I did try bending it last night, sort of half-heartedly, because I was actually I had gotten a shower and I came back over to the garage just to fool around. And I heated this up. And I started bending it, but it's not bending as nicely as I want. I'm going to try it one more time. I think it has to be really, really super red hot to be able to do this. I had this red, but more or less in a line and a curve that came out here, because this part, the way, I don't know if you can see it, but the curve that's in it is actually one piece. And I'd like to make it like that as close as I can, just for the, even though I don't have to. I mean, I can make this any way I want. I just want to do it just for the sake of doing it. Just to be able to, you know, okay, they have a factory, all their fancy parts and money, and they did what they could. I can do the same thing with a minimum of stuff. But anyway, I have to bend this flange out so that I have a mounting point. If I can't do it by heating it, I'm just going to cut it, and not here actually, I'll cut it here and then bend that and maybe weld something back into that to keep that pretty strong. But I got to tell you, this plate is some nasty stuff. It's, as far as toughness goes, I had bought a bunch of this stuff, and I'm liking the way it goes, and it certainly is a pleasure to be able to weld and work with new metal as opposed to working with crap. Like trying to re-weld this rusted old frame was a joke, you know. I mean, you just couldn't, you could barely strike a bead on it, let alone actually weld something. I mean, look how bad that frame's eaten out there. It's unbelievable. I don't understand how the torsion bar mount don't have one bit of rust on it, yet the transmission mount's rusting into pieces. So it's hard to imagine. One of them must be made out of one kind of steel, and the other one must be made out of some other kind of steel. But it'll be a pleasure to have this gray painted frame done and be able to see everything. And I'm going to mount this stuff so that I can get at it easily. This freaking gas filter was always a pain in the ass to get at. You know, and it moves and everything else, and it had a plastic hanger on it that was worthless. So I'll put a nice metal hanger around that I can, you know, open a bolt and pull that thing out of there easily. So that's what I'm working on so far. And it's going to take a while yet. This is not, you know, a one-week project, especially for one person. So I've got, I don't know if I showed in the other videos, I do have some of these mounts done, welded on. I have my tram gauge. It's not set in place exactly where I need it yet, but mostly everything is fitting okay. So once I get these mounts made for the spring perches, then I think I'm going to take the rear end off this truck. But I need to buy, I want to get a new set of springs as well. As soon as I order the new springs and get them in, then I'll put them underneath the truck. So far, so good. Sort of happy with the way this came out. It's a lot stronger looking and a nicer piece, in my opinion, than what Chevy originally had intended. So, and I'll tell you what, I'm actually considering lining these things somehow with stainless steel or aluminum, because I do not want this to come apart in the next 10 to 15 years. I guess that thick steel I'm using could work. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a pattern like you've seen me make along this face here, and I'll end it down here, and then I'm just going to cut a plate to that shape, and I'll weld the top of the pattern, or, you know, the pattern that I cut metal out, or the metal that I cut out of a pattern, I'll weld against that flat plate. That'll be this, and I know it's going to be a lot stronger than what this thing is. I mean, I can't figure out why this even rust up here. It's unbelievable. So anyway, the cab is off the truck. Again, it's raining today. It's crazy. It's been raining like every other freaking day. It's been raining. So I also have the bed is ready for the bed liner inside. That's sort of why I have the plastic over it. I don't want anything to get in it. I did primer the inside of the bed so that I could put this rhino, or not rhino lining, but I'm going to use some other kind of cheap stuff just for color effect. I'm not really caring about the quality of that, because I'm going to put a bed mat down. I like the mats rather than a bed liner. And that's the cab, resting comfortably until I can get at it. There's not a lot of work to do on the cab. You can see the A-pillar there has a little bit of a crack to it and some rust, and also the A-pillar on this side has a hole in it, so I'll replace that. I'm thinking about replacing the hinges on the door right away while I'm at it. And excuse my camera here, the cab mounts in the back. This one, or I'm not the cab corners. Whoever, I had somebody do this once before and they didn't do a good job on it. I was busy, I couldn't do it myself. So I'm going to have to take these off and make new ones and weld them into place. Other than that, the truck is in fairly good shape, and for 30 years old, I am happy with it. So anyway, that's where I stand so far. And a little of this rain going out here. Bullseye! Come on! Hurry up! Anyway, with the way that this is going, it should be good. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.